welcome for another episode of the Author Spotlight. Hey, it's your host with the most, your main man, Darren M. Palmer. So excited to be with you for another episode where I get the honor and the privilege to be able to go behind the scenes with best-selling authors from across the globe. Oh, yeah, we got a great author on today. We got Miss Vernessa Thomas, who is a mother, a speaker, and a writer. She uses the hardships from her youth and becoming a single mom while in high school to educate other women on how to overcome their own setbacks, and in doing so, become more empowered through social media. Vernessa currently speaks with schools and doing student tours. Her primary focus is high school students, single mothers, as well as PTO groups. She advises parents on how to better advocate for their children within the school system. For 10 years, Ms. Vernessa has worked in the Michigan Foster Services as well as Catholic Social Services, using her Mom for Respite Care in order to help parents retain custody of their children. Now, it's more to your bio, Ms. Thomas, but if you don't mind, come on and say hello to the audience for the Author Spotlight, and please fill in any of the gaps that I might have left out in your bio.
Oh, well, hello, Daryl. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a pleasure and a privilege that you even knew about me and sought me out as one of your speakers, and I appreciate you so much.
Oh, no doubt, Ms. Thomas. We definitely had to bring you on and to be able to share. And speaking of that, Ms. Thomas, share with them the name of your book and why did you write this as your first book?
Well, the name of my book is The Secret Behind the Secret to Success. And one of the things I wanted, as I was asked about just some of the hardships that I still was under, it's like I had kind of made some great successes, but the shame that was put on me when I was a kid, when I got pregnant, I couldn't seem to shake it. Well, my son said, well, Mom, you got to look at all the things that you've endured and just how far you've come from your, with the background that I come from. And then too, the other piece was I was villainized, I felt, when Eric wrote his book, because I had a lot of people come up to me, especially women, to say what a wicked person I was to put my kid out. And I just needed to show my perspective or share my perspective from a parental point of view. So we speak of some of those things that Eric talked about in his book, The Secret to Success. And hence, that's why I actually wrote mine as The Secret Behind the Secret to Success. So, to clear up a lot of things.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Ms. Thomas. And you know what? It's just like what my grandmother always shared with me. It's two sides to every story. Now I know that's just some good old Southern wisdom right there. Y'all can pick that up later on, act like Hines and Hunts, and catch up later on that one. But it's two sides to every story. And so for the audience out there, I want you to think about your own story. Don't allow for somebody else to write your story or give their narrative or their point of view, because they're only sharing it from their perspective. And you have to realize that you have a story too within you. So most of the audience and those who are listening to this particular podcast are thinking like, wow, oh man, that's Miss Vernessa, she's doing this. No, Miss Vernessa did what a lot of the real authors do. There is a need for it. There is a situation where they want their truth to be shared out to the world. And she didn't limit herself, because when she shared about her son writing the book, she could have let doubt get in the way. She could have looked at, who am I to write a book? My son has got some accolades, got some things that she can share at her own time if she chooses to, that he's had his own success. How dare will I come up? Who will want to hear from me sharing my story? But there is a need for that. I know firsthand that is also a need of some tough love. And as we was taught at our house, is that if you want to run a house, go get your own house. So there are some boundaries that were set, that you're not going to come in here and talk to us any kind of way, or have, regardless how mad you are, it's a way that you handle anything, just like you would at a job, just like you would in the court of law. You might not like what a judge is telling you, but you got to respect that judge in that position in the court of law. Or if not, it's going to be some other people, Miss Vernessa, who are not going to like how they tote you up out of there in handcuffs if you objected and doing with the judge, you have an attempt of court. So we all have a story. And speaking of that, that's a great segue, if you don't mind, Miss Vernessa. Share with us, it's one thing to say, I want to write a book or I want to share a story, but what made you believe that you could write a book when so many had failed at the task? And even your son, it wasn't no easy trip for him to write his book. It took a process to do it. So what made you believe that you could write a book?
Well, if I give you a backdrop of my own life, I'm one of 14 kids. We were very poor just by the sheer force of how many kids were in a home. You know, my stepfather was undereducated, so it was nothing but lack. And you got the backdrop for me, south side of Chicago in the late 60s, there was no affirmative action, so it was a hard luck life. And when I realized that I had overcome and made a shift in how I thought, and even having a child in high school, I found a way to show that my son's life would not be like mine. And I just needed to show people, no matter where you come from, no matter what the hardships are, if you have enough drive, even when you don't know where you want to go, but you know what you don't want to be, you can make it, because it worked for me. You know, I'll be honest, I was dealt a harsh hand, but I used that hand, and I made a life for myself and my son.
So, Miss Vernessa, it's safe to say that you didn't become a product of your environment. You had a big enough, as they like to say in the professional or personal development field, you had a big enough why. And I love what you brought up of what you didn't want. See, some of you looking for inspiration. I tell you what the greatest inspiration is of what you don't want. If you've been from a hardship or you've been in some tough times, you know that you don't want to go back to a certain place. That could be socioeconomically, that could be relationally, that could be somewhere spiritually. It doesn't financially, it doesn't matter. When enough is enough, nobody don't have to tell you to get up. You don't need Zig Ziglar. You don't need Eric Thomas giving you thank God it's Monday. You don't need to have none of that when you know what you don't want. Because you didn't have none of that motivational stuff in your ear telling you to get up with no iPad or iPod or nothing, did you, Miss Thomas, growing up, did you?
No. And then the environment was so harsh, but I knew you know, if you know what you don't want, by default, you're going to go another way. And you're going to, wherever you in, it's going to be better. And that's all I had. And it was enough. It was enough. If I didn't hang out with the dope guys and as my grandmama used to say, who was from Alabama, the Hully Gully girls, I was going to find myself in a different spot. And by the grace of God, I did.
Yeah, you know, shout out to the South, the Hully Gully girls. Come on now. Y'all got to be from the South to understand that kind of talk. Miss Thomas, I didn't know you had some of them Southern roots in you, girl. I didn't know that.
Alabama.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a great migration from the South to Chicago. I should have known that too, whatnot, by some that was there when not looking for jobs and opportunities. And speaking of opportunities, you know, Miss Thomas, share with the audience, okay, you know that you had a book and you wanted to share your story. You believed in that you could overcome some obstacles because of your track record before with the situations that you came out of coming out of the South side of Chicago. But share with us too, with your schedule that you have and the things that you had lined out. Give us some of the hacks or the secrets. What system did you use to create your book? Did you just get up in the morning? Did you just speak it into like a machine and it dictated it for you? Give us some of the examples of how you was able to get stuff done. Because I know some people thinking, Lord, I know I want to write a book, but I ain't even got a paragraph down yet. Share with some of those who might be discouraged on the tips or the lessons that you use to get yours done.
Well, the first thing I wanted to do was pick maybe 10 or 15 topics. And once I picked the topic, I didn't even do it in order. say if I want to talk about being pregnant, or when we left Chicago, I would get that topic, and it's like you said, I would speak into my recorder, and I would just go with the flow. It might be 20 minutes, it might be an hour, and I would capture that. I didn't make corrections or anything. I just put my thoughts out there. For some people, it might be to write it down, but I don't type fast as I talk. So it worked for me. And then I would take another topic and I would expand on that till I felt I had done enough. And at some point, what I did, I transcribed it using my word processor. I put the, ghetto girl, put the recorder up against the Word doc, and it put the volume up. I swear to God, the words flew off onto the screen. And then when I had all of that done, I went back and started editing. And then at some point, after making corrections, I found an editor that would help me with my flow. And so it was, for everybody it's different, but for me, I'm a storyteller, so speaking it made more sense for me.
I love that, Miss Thomas. You do what works for you. Let me show an example of this, because I know we got some believers who are watching the show. So when I hear this story of what Miss Vernessa is sharing with us, it reminds me of the young lad who came out fighting lion, tigers, bears, oh my, over there by the name of David. Y'all know David, Jesse boy out there, had dung in his feet. But when I think about it, it reminds me of Saul and them trying to put the wrong arm on. They were putting their arm on him. David said, I can't wear this stuff, man. I'm paraphrasing, so I don't want all the religious zealots to start sending me hate mail. He said, I can't wear all this armor or whatnot. I'm used to being lightweight. Just give me my slingshot and my smooth stones or whatnot. He was able to slay his giant. Now, Miss Vernessa was able to slay her giants by doing it her way. She didn't take on the armor of others that's around her. Now, by this time when Miss Vernessa is writing her book, she's a part of some different groups and things where people did their books differently. I know this firsthand, but she stayed in her lane. And this is something that I'm getting from Miss Thomas, and I want to let you know, I want to commend you on, Miss Thomas, and I see the benefit and how the Lord is using you to impact so many lives, because I love how you do you.
Yes, you have to. You gotta do you.
You gotta do you. You ain't letting who your children, your child is, or you're not letting other environments keep you from being true and real to you. You're getting on here and you just being authentic, you being transparent, you being real about you. And I want the audience to listen to that. So many of you trying to be somebody else, baby. Be yourself. Of course, improve yourself, hone your skill, work at your craft. Don't get me wrong. That don't mean just lay down and eat hot Cheetos and watch Nick at Night and watch episodes of Matlock or Perry Mason. Some of y'all too young for that. Y'all don't know nothing about that. You kind of wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac on here. But I wish I had a praying church with me in here right now. But let me get back. Let me digress. Now, as I was saying, she stayed in her own lane. You have to be careful of where you get information at. You have to, you looking at, or read Brene Brown book. One woman called me, told me, I just read Michelle Obama book. She want to change her whole book. Or, baby, you're not Michelle Obama, and you sure don't have Michelle Obama budget. So you got to act your wage. You got to do what's best for you and your target demographics. That's what you got to do. So I just want to thank you for doing that. And I also want to ask you too as well to share with our audience, what has been the response, Ms. Thomas, when you went through all the steps? You went from an idea, you went to praying and getting into action. You went to what we like to say, using Southern ingenuity by being able to speak in one thing and then have the words swap and go onto the computer through the word processor that you was using. You did all of that. You found an editor, did all these things. Now the book is available. Now the book is done. Now you have released it. Could you share what it meant to you knowing that you had accomplished this great feat, and also add to the audience what has been the response from others around you and those who have read the book? What were some things that they shared about the book and what it meant to them?
Well, the first thing about writing your book is this. When, we go through life, if we're on a track to get better, we don't look back much. Writing this book allowed me to go back and see how many blessings I had, how much grace God had given me, because so many things happened to me when I was young. And with my son as a single mom, you forget, because it's so much negativity that you just don't want to. But when you reflect, it's like, oh my God, I survived that. I have a story to share to these women of hope, because angels were in my life. And I swear, the power of discernment would come over me, and it saved me so many times. And sometimes we think it's us, but you look back and say, it's no way. And then you say, if I could overcome all of these obstacles, I am able to help other women, because what I didn't do was just share my story. Every chapter has lessons learned, some things that I use to get me out of a bad situation or to help keep me tracking better. Because I didn't have anybody as a role model. By hard luck, I survived, and I want to show these women there's a cheat sheet.
I love it. I love the teaching. Each one teach one, and I love that you are using this as a mantle to reach out to those who need your help. Yeah. Because some of you who are listening right now, you're thinking to yourself, you minimize yourself. You always finding a way to ostracize yourself. You got to practice and have an understanding of self-love and realize that your story is important too. You can cheerlead, you can invest, you can help others, you sowing seeds for everybody else ministry or their company or whatever they involved in, until it comes to you. And now all of a sudden you can't see the value within you. So I want you to know that your story is important. I love what Miss Vernessa shared with us today on the Author Spotlight. But it's some of you, I feel it in my spirit, some of you who think you waiting on everybody to say it's your time. You waiting on approval. You waiting on a certification. You think it's a certain degree to make you who you are. No, your test is your testimony. Your mess is your message. And my favorite saying that I like to share with people, and I see this with Miss Vernessa, your pain is your product. Your pain is your product. God didn't give you what you went through for no reason. It didn't happen to you. It happened for you. Yes. But if you acquiesce and stay in the quagmire of thinking, oh my God, I just got to lay here and be a victim all my life, then you missing the point. You overcame for a reason. So you can be compensated and help people at the same time. Right. Y'all didn't hear what I said. That you can be compensated and help people at the same time. But if you've been hoodwinked and bamboozled, you think that the story is just supposed to be a scar instead of a badge of sharing what you've been through and how you can help others overcome too. Because it's somebody that's not going to be able to relate. I'm just using this as an example with Michelle Obama book, or Steve Harvey's, or Warren Buffett's, or Steve Jobs, memoir, whoever it is that you want to think about, Terry McMillan, but they will be able to relate to Miss Vernessa Thomas. They will be able to relate to the teachers. It will be an idea at the end of one of those chapters where somebody can get that aha. They can get that epiphany, the spirit to speak to them. Now, all of a sudden, they realize and evaluate themselves. Oh, that's why my relationship wasn't working. Oh, that's why I keep going in and out of these relationships. And the names change, but the game remained the same. I didn't realize that until I got, oh my goodness. Look at what it means for what Miss Vernessa is being used as the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. Look what it's doing for families for generations. because one woman got it. One young lady got it. Now she's looking at Howard instead of going to the local strip club. One young man don't have to pick up a gun now because his relationship between his parents is better, because the psyche of his mom and his father is better right now. They know how to handle things the right way. See, this is deeper than a $20 book here, y'all. That's why we're going behind the scenes with Miss Vernessa today. This is the thing for generations. Did you hear what I just said? For generations, the work that Miss Vernessa has done is somebody that's life is gonna be changed. It's gonna be devices when we both gone. If the Lord hadn't came back first, that people will be able to read this. Do you know that John, while he was on the Isle of Patmos, when he was doing Revelation, he would have never known that we would be reading it on an iPhone, on a Bible app.
That's right.
He would have never known that. So I'm sharing with you, Miss Vernessa did her fiduciary responsibility. She took what her talent was and she advanced it for the kingdom, and also to allow for her story to be shared and continue to evolve. What's your excuse? How can you improve? Miss Vernessa, I shared quite a bit right there. Do you agree with anything that I'm saying right there? Do you believe that that's right teaching for the audience who listening in?
It's absolutely correct, because I tell you, I went through some serious emotional problems when I was a young girl. And I got quiet and I was a mute and I read. And that one hardship, I realized later, changed the trajectory of my life from my 13 siblings. I went a different way. And by me changing, my son, and then I have 2 daughters, their life is beyond the stars and the moons than mine. They'll never know the poverty and lack because I did something different. So please hear him. This is not a memoir. I made certain it wasn't. I needed to share lessons learned and principles and precepts. And what's in there is for men as well. You have to understand there are so many generational curses that we thought were norms, but you can't know unless you change your mentality. And I'm not saying your mentality is bad, but you don't know what you don't know if you've never got off the block, be it physical or emotionally. I got lucky and I got off the block. And my kid's life is just totally foreign to what I knew. So when you think and you act differently, you gonna understand it's not getting a PhD in metaphysics. It's a simple one-step change that layer upon layer. And I swear to you, in my wildest dream, I never thought I would be in such a place that I am. And it's not even the financial, it's the emotional stability that I never had coming up. It's, please, for your sake of your children, the people you love, as we grow, their life is improved exponentially.
Man, that is amazing. Miss Vernessa, you definitely have blessed us today on the Author Spotlight. You done came and dropped some value bombs on her. I feel like it was Hiroshima over here, girl. You had me over here ducking or whatnot. I mean, this has been a great interview, and I want you to take these lessons to heart. Don't just listen to this interview and say, oh, man, that was good, and don't do nothing with it. Go get the book. And speaking of going and getting the book, Miss Thomas, share with our audience, how can they get the book if you're on social media, you know, if you got any handles on Instagram, Twitter, or whatnot, whatever information you have, please share it with our audience at this time.
I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and my tag is ETMOMS, ET Moms. I'm also on mamathomas.com for the book. And there's a bio where you can see a little bit more, like an overview of my book, and just I share a few things out of my book, but This is great. I promise you, it's an easy read, but it was the difference from me being third generation welfare. And I'm not putting welfare down. I was on it. I was 17 with a baby. But I knew that was going to be for a time. And I made a date. And I did part-time work, seasonal work, any kind of legal work to crawl my way out of that so that my son would not have that as a norm for his life. And when you have these desires, God brings people into your life to help you. And in writing my book, I realized he was always there, putting a bug in someone's ear, telling me about a job or something that would help me get out of that situation. Please, ladies, guys, when you have a positive mindset and you say, this is not the life for me, God gives you thoughts and actions on how to manifest that to reality. He did it for me. So please, get the book, read it, pay attention to the precepts and the principles, and I promise you, you can't help but be greater and better and change your whole generational future.
Miss Thomas shared with us she did all, but y'all didn't catch that one. She said she did whatever legal work. Some of y'all gonna have to catch that later on. Now, you know, she did all the legal work. Now, it's some other work that ain't legal. I think that right, Miss Thomas, that you can get caught up in when you're trying to.
A whole lot of family that was up in Statesville, and I didn't want to go, so I had to not.
I heard that. So they can have all that, huh, Miss Thomas?
I saw what that means.
Yes, ma'am. Oh yeah, that crooked road don't line out right. You know, it just don't line out right, no matter how you look at it.
That's right. Oh. Take too long to get to the end. Just go on and take the hard, straight path.
That's it.
It's wonderful.
That's it. Well, we want to just thank you, Miss Thomas, for coming on. Definitely want to get with you for some other stuff that we have going on as well. I'm telling you, it was a wealth of knowledge. It was a wealth of knowledge. It's been a pleasure talking to you today. But I'm going to be honest with you while we're on the show. I didn't know you going to hit us in the head this hard today. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I said, well, we're going to do the interview, but I like, well, we're going to do the interview. I said, you know, she have a little talk or whatnot, do a little Easter speech, but I didn't realize I was going to get punched and hit in the head. I didn't realize we had Floyd Mayweather in the ring today. I got knots on my head right now. Y'all see them knots up there? Miss Thomas done hit us with some tremendous value, and I'm just thinking to myself like, ooh, I had to put myself on mute, Miss Thomas, because I kept saying, ooh, let me write that down. I got notes and everything over here listening at this, because I was like, oh man, if we just implement. Now you heard me, I'm French. Y'all didn't know I was French. You couldn't tell from the southern accent, baby, but your boy bilingual. So I just want y'all to understand the importance of what Miss Thomas has shared with us here. I don't want to just run. It's like people, how they do at church or something. They run through scripture. They don't know what it meant. They just read it. And they don't have no insight, no substance. They just going through the Easter speech and the vacation Bible school message. And I want y'all to understand, don't just listen to this while you're on a treadmill or you're moving around and you commute. Make sure you take time, listen to this again. Find things, get the book. Go through the notes, read through it, take time for your life. It's worth you and your family. It's worth your legacy to make sure that you get this stuff right in your life. Because I'm telling you, a lot of times it's not somebody there, the book right there, she got it. It's not all the time that somebody's being prejudiced. It's not all the time about somebody that just don't want to be in the right relationship with you. It's not all the time about the kids being bad or who president and all that. A lot of time, the biggest enemy of you is you. We're going to let that marinate. Now, Ms. Thomas, did you have any last words out there to the audience before we close out?
I have a saying that my sister told me when I was having problems as a single mom with the relationship with my son's father. She said, sometimes the X you got to get rid of is yourself. Those stinking thinking, victim mentality. And once you do that, you're going to be all right. And it's so true. We can feel like victims. And I have a thing that I call subjective wallowing. You can only do it for a minute. Give in to your feelings. How, he done me wrong. And then you say, it's time to move on. It's constructive wallowing. Why are you crying? Figure out what's the gem in this relationship that I could use to better my life. What role am I playing in this? Like you said, if every man you meet got the same negative traits, but they all look different, who's the common denominator? And when you self-assess, it's hard. But that's when the healing and that's when you make it. Because once you know it's you, then you go on and say, okay, well, I need to do something. It's hard.
Yes,
but on
ma'am.
the other side, oh my God. On the other side of that is paradise.
Come on now.
I had to self-assess and I had to stop wallowing. And I'm here. My relationship with my son is better. I had a better relationship with my kids because every time I grew as a person, my family benefited from it. So ladies, gentlemen, fall down, as the old folks say, 7 times, get up 8. Keep going.
That's it. That's it. Well, Miss Thomas.
See that southern piece I got some of? Yes.
Yeah, I see it. I see you. I see you seasoning us up a little bit over here right now. I see you putting a little seasoning on us before we head on out of here, out the door or whatnot. But it's been a pleasure talking to you today or whatnot. I like I said, I don't want the episode to end. Gary, I mean, you done blessed me. You done blessed me today with this episode. And I hope that you all were blessed too as well. Make sure that you go to @ETMoms to follow Miss Vernessa on IG or whatnot. Also go to mamathomas.com to be able to get your copy of the book. And also make sure that you rewind this, listen to this again, take notes, get the book, use the materials that you have at your disposal to go to the next level. Don't wait to the new year hollering new year, new me. You can start that process. You can start your healing right now. But until next time, I want you to realize, if you won't change, be the change. Be blessed and be great. And remember that this is the year for your new book. Be blessed. I'll talk to you next time.